Shabbat Shalom. The story is told of parents who had two young boys who were very mischievous. And in fact, anything they did in their town, they were blamed for. So the parents had a brilliant idea for these children because they heard that the rabbi was a wonderful disciplinarian. And so they sent the younger boy to the rabbi. And the boy sat in the rabbi's office, and the rabbi asked him one question. The rabbi said, "Where is God?" And the child sat in silence and didn't know how to respond to the rabbi. And again, the rabbi said, "Where is God?" There was silence again, until for the third time, the rabbi asked the same question. "Where is God?" And this time, the child bolted out of the rabbi's office, ran down the street into his home, and shut his bedroom door. Well, his older brother wanted to find out what the rabbi told him. And when he asked, "What did you learn from the rabbi that our parents sent you to?" the boy looked at his brother and said, "The rabbi said that God is missing, and he thinks that we did it. God is missing, and he thinks that we did it, that we are to blame." The cantor chanted so beautifully just a few moments, Birkat HaChodesh, the prayer that welcomes in the new month. And in this case, it was Elul. We heard the high holiday tunes. I'm not sure about you, but I was getting very nervous and excited at the same time when I hear the melody of Kol Nidrei. But in this month of Elul, we have a job and a practice and an exercise called Cheshbon HaNefesh, which means we must account for our own soul. And that's done in two different ways. The first is Bein Adam L'Makom, between you and me, between you and your fellow human being. You must do teshuvah, you must make amends. We must improve how we lived over this last year. But also we do something Bein Adam L'Makom, between us and God above. And that's a lot harder. We know that God has many names, but in this parasha of Re'eh, God is called Makom, a place. And over again, we hear the Torah say, Hamakom Yisher Yichar Adonai, that God has chosen a place for us, and we know that that place is not Los Angeles, but rather it's Israel and Jerusalem. And so you might be thinking, then what does it mean to us thousands of miles away? But the next verse in the Torah tells us, Kir Ichak Mimcha Hamakom. If you are far away from that place, what do? And all the rabbis follow the commentator named Chizkuni, and they all say that even if you do not live in Jerusalem, or if you're too far from Jerusalem, if you're outside the land of Israel, in fact, all of the laws that pertain there pertain to you and me here. In essence, God is not hiding, but rather we are hiding. It's us that have to come out of our hiding spots. I know buzzwords today are physical distance and social distance, but what we really are missing is spiritual distance. That's what all of us are doing today. The parsha is called Re'eh, which means to see. And after we come out of this hiding place, wherever we are, we must see. We must see the world that still is. We must partake in that world, and we must create again. Now, we all know that it is very difficult to believe in something or feel something that is not in front of our eyes. I think love is the best example. But it was brought to my attention this week as I sat down to dinner with my family that it's very hard. It's very hard to believe in something that you don't see and feel. We were sitting at dinner and my 6-year-old son asked, he said, "Abba, did you have a cell phone when you grew up?" And we said, "No, there were no cell phones. There was something called telephones. And in fact, you couldn't just bring your telephone wherever you were going, but rather you had to wait to get your messages when you came back home." And he said, "That's very interesting, but what about driving? Did you put 2 horses in front of a carriage and get around that way?" And he was completely serious as a 6-year-old. And it made me think exactly what we are talking about today. It's hard to believe and to feel something that you cannot see, a reality that is not ours. And that's the refrain that we are hearing over and over again. There is no community because we cannot be with you in that chapel. There is no community because we will not sit in our seats on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. There is no community because we can't walk through the doors of 10400 Wilshire Boulevard. But this morning, I beg to differ. I think we just saw community as those who are participating in this service wrapped their arms around each other as our cameras went on for L'Dor Vador. And I want to share with you a paradox that I think reflects what we are feeling in these weeks leading up to the High Holy Days. We all know the prayer Avinu Malkeinu, which we translate in English as our parent, our ruler. But it's a complete paradox and contradiction, because how can somebody feel like a parent while at the same time feeling like a ruler? Because we know somebody who is a parent, we want to cuddle up to our parents. We want to be close to them. We want to have access to them. But a ruler, somebody who is above us, it's transcendent, it's beyond us, we can't feel it. The access is too difficult to gain. And that's what we're feeling with community today. We crave it. We want to stand next to each other. We want to hug each other. But whether it's a mask or whether it's a physical wall, we know we can't do that at the moment. But we do have the ability to grow closer in the way that we lead our lives within our own Jewish community. So we have two choices this morning. I'm preaching to the choir, or I'm preaching to the virtual audience. But it's our job, it's one of your jobs, to tell somebody who's not watching today, community is real. Community can be felt. Community can be created even with these empty seats around me and around you. And so the answer is not, I'll give up, I'll pass for this year, but rather give up. The answer is to give in. I don't think it's a mistake that when you go on Facebook or YouTube and you count the number of views that these Shabbat services get in over 5 to 7 days is over 10,000 views. Now, I know not everybody's watching for 3 hours, because as we know in real time, not everybody comes to a synagogue for 3 hours. But the fact that somebody is clicking a button and saying, I will join, I will participate, I will remember a loved one, I will celebrate a simcha, I will be part of a transformative moment that has never been done in this world before. To me, that is Avinu Malkeinu. That's taking something that we feel could not be felt or believed, and it's making it tangible. It's making it imminent. It's making it a part of us today. Remember that verse, Ki irchak mimcha hamakom. If you feel so far away, there's only one answer. And that answer is to come close. Don't hide yourself. There's a reason that Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel titled his book, God in Search of Man. Not the thing that we would have thought, man searching for God, but God is searching for us. The rabbi told that question to those kids, and he was right. God is missing, but so are we. So are we. In a number of years, in a generation, our grandchildren will sit around a table, and they will read about these moments in the history book, and they will say, Grandma, Grandpa, Mom, Dad. They're not going to ask about our cell phones, but they're going to say, what did your Judaism look like in times of a pandemic? And we're going to have two choices again. We can either say, we left it. We waited until it came to us. Or we can make the choice that we are all making right now. we can tell those children during those days, we did it. We went to our Judaism. We didn't just found God, but God continually found us. That's why twice a day, in fact, 3 times a day, we say the Psalms of the Ashrei. And in the line beginning with the letter Kuf, we say, Karov Adonai L'chol Korav. God is close to all who call upon God. That's exactly what we're going to do in the month of Elul. As Rabbi Guzik said just before, it's a simple click of a button to join a class. But learn a little bit more about Avinu Malkeinu than you've ever done before. This week we focus on the prayer Unatana Tokef, about the prayer for life and death. Think about last year where you were sitting in those times. Think about where you will be sitting during the High Holy Days this day. Joining us, and I mean joining us, even though it may be over a screen. Because it's not just for our children, but it's for us, and it's for all those who became before us. Ki irchak mimcha hamakom. The Torah knew that one day we would feel very far from the place that God chose us to be in. But the Torah also knew, Karov Adonai L'chol Korav, that if we call out, we can be closer to God and closer to each other. Shabbat Shalom.